Thank you for joining me today as we delve into a topic of profound importance, understanding cognitive impairment and the complex interplay between dementia and alcohol use disorder. Our discussion will explore these conditions, look at how they interact, and dive into the impact of alcohol on cognition, as well as looking at strategies for risk reduction and management. My name is Nicole Kadovius. I am the Older Adult Interest Group Lead and Director of Strategic Programs for the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. I have over 30 years of experience working with older adults and also working in the recovery space. So very excited to be here to dive into this topic. Today, we'll be examining the differences between typical aging decline and the progression of cognitive impairment and dementia. As we age, it is normal for us to experience decline in cognitive functions such as memory and processing speed. This type of decline is gradual and mild, having only a slight impact on daily life, with older adults needing very little to no intervention to live independently. In contrast, cognitive impairment and dementia represent more significant and progressive changes. Cognitive impairment may start with noticeable difficulties in memory or reasoning that impact daily activities more substantially than typical aging. And dementia, on the other hand, is a much more severe and chronic condition that you could see progresses from mild to severe and deteriorates cognitive abilities. It impacts memory, thinking, and behavior to the extent that it interferes with an individual's ability to perform everyday tasks independently. So the key distinction lies in severity and impact on daily functioning. While typical aging involves gradual and manageable changes, cognitive impairment and dementia involve a more pronounced and worsening decline that may require medical attention and long-term care support. Understanding differences is crucial for early intervention and effective management, and ensuring that individuals receive appropriate care through and support throughout their aging and disease process. Currently, dementia affects 55 million people globally, and 6 million Americans today are living with Alzheimer's disease. Dementia is an umbrella term that is used to describe a condition that causes changes to a person's memory, reasoning, and thinking. Cognitive decline that occurs affects daily life. And as you can see, it's not a single disease, but rather several different types of disorders, each with unique causes and symptoms. Some people may have more than one kind of dementia, and different dementias can have the similar symptoms, making it very difficult to differentiate the diagnosis. Alzheimer's disease is the most common type, as you could see, with a 60 to 70% prevalence, followed by vascular, frontotemporal, and then Lewy body dementia. Wanted to take a minute just to dive into some of the other dementias. An often overlooked form of dementia is alcohol-related dementia. Chronic and excessive alcohol use can lead to brain damage, manifesting as cognitive decline similar to other dementias. This type of dementia is associated with conditions like Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, which results from thiamine deficiency due to excessive drinking. It also presents with severe memory problems and confusion. Individuals with autism spectrum disorder have a higher risk for developing dementia than the general population, especially Alzheimer's disease, as well as individuals with developmental disabilities, specifically Down syndrome. However, not all people with autism or IDD or Downs will develop dementia. Understanding the various types is crucial for diagnosis and treatment. While some forms of dementia, like those caused by alcohol, may be improved with reduced consumption and medical intervention, others will require long-term management strategies. And again, by recognizing these conditions early, we can provide better support and improve the quality of life for those affected. Let's take a closer look at which factors increase the risk of dementia. It is important from an awareness perspective to understand how to potentially reduce the risk and manage this condition. So dementia is influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. The greatest increase in risk is age. the risk of dementia increases significantly as we age, particularly after age 65. Older adults at that age and older are more likely to develop various forms of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. Genetics and family history do play a role. Cardiovascular health, conditions that affect the heart, blood vessel health, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, are also associated with a higher risk of dementia. Previous head injuries, especially severe and repeated traumatic brain injuries, and also individuals that may have suffered a stroke are also at higher risk for dementia. Lifestyle factors such as smoking, physical inactivity, and poor diet can also contribute. And mental and social engagement, or lack thereof, is another factor. Also, the impact of social determinants of health and adverse life experience and stressors can compromise cognitive health during later stages of life. And finally, alcohol use. Chronic alcohol use is a notable risk factor for dementia. Excessive consumption can lead to brain damage, manifesting as cognitive decline and memory problems that can mimic dementia. Chronic alcohol consumption can lead to brain damage. You can see that the higher alcohol use can actually cause permanent brain damage. As we age, our brain shrinks. Excessive drinking causes a more rapid shrinkage of the brain. And so in particular, the areas responsible for memory and learning are most affected by excessive alcohol consumption. And this condition is known as alcohol-related brain damage, or ARBD. And again, it manifests in a similar fashion to dementia. The overlap complicates diagnosis and treatment, as both conditions do have those similar symptoms of memory impairment and decline. And regularly drinking too much alcohol, especially over a long period of time, is very toxic to the brain, causing brain cells to die. So, as I mentioned, one of the ways that alcohol does damage the brain is by damaging blood vessels. When blood vessels are damaged, less blood reaches our brain cells, and over time, it leads to brain cells dying. And so one way to reduce that is to minimize your alcohol intake or to stop alcohol intake altogether. Over time, your brain becomes more resilient to the damage that has occurred. There is good news. There are several modifiable life factors that also contribute to dementia risk being decreased, and that's highlighted in the top two boxes in blue, the protective factors. Addressing these risk factors through lifestyle changes, medical management, and early intervention can significantly impact cognitive health and reduce the risk of developing dementia later in life. Let's take a deeper dive into protective factors. The good news is that we have control and choice to engage in healthy behaviors and healthy options that will significantly reduce our risk of dementia. And as developed by the Alzheimer's Disease International report, they focused on risk reduction, and these are the top 8 areas that can impact significantly a reduction in your risk of having dementia. Recommendations include eating a healthy diet. So as much of a diverse food group as possible, heart healthy, including vegetables and fruit and fish, and avoiding as many processed foods as possible. Exercise is important, all kinds of exercise, not just high impact, walking, bike riding, Tai Chi, dancing, it all counts. So keep moving and also keep learning. Engage your brain in ways that maybe you've not done before, stimulating your brain and exploring new interests, learning a new language, and also daily puzzles is a great way to keep your brain active and stimulated. Paying attention to cardiovascular health and any other chronic diseases, again, through healthy diet, exercise, and medical management is crucial. Maintaining connection. We saw this post-COVID-19, the impact of social isolation and loneliness and the increased risk of depression. So maintaining connection socially as well will reduce the risk of depression and isolation. and the risk for dementia. And then the last two, physical maintenance, that really encompasses you getting restful sleep for 7 to 8 hours an evening is recommended, not smoking, reducing or not drinking alcohol, and or getting treatment for alcohol use if possible. And finally, stress management. Stress does play a role. And here's one that folks don't normally talk about, and it's hearing loss. So treating hearing loss. If you do have a hearing loss, it is recommended that you get hearing aids, as hearing loss does contribute to memory problems. Addressing and understanding cognitive impairment, dementia, and alcohol use requires a nuanced approach that considers the interplay between various conditions with the individual at the center. So person-centered planning, involving caregivers, a multidisciplinary team, support networks, and prevention strategies are the way that we can best manage and personalize how we support the individual through their end of life. Support groups and community resources offer additional layers and a space for families to share experiences, seek advice, and also learn how to manage some of the complex conditions. And finally, a multidisciplinary team is essential to providing holistic care. The team approach ensures that all aspects of a person's health and well-being are being addressed. So not just medical treatment, but really looking at the person holistically. Some key takeaways. Why is this important? Because in 2050, it's projected that 13 million Americans are expected to be impacted by dementia. And there is a way for us to proactively share strategies to reduce that risk, and just wanted to share some resources as well. Thank you so much for your attention.